you go back in a game like this, heck, I wish I would have called some different plays. I mean, we can all do better on both sides of the ball and special teams. I mean, we can learn from this in a lot of different ways, and a lot of individual. You got to look at it individually, and even though we talk team, and then that helps us become a better team when we do that, and be real with ourselves.
Two teams scored 50 or more points for the first time in NFL history. Andy Reid's Chiefs have lost twice this season to the Pats and the Rams, but they've scored over 45 points a game in those losses. They've also given up over 48. No question, the defense is going to play a role down the stretch if they want to win the Super Bowl. Mike Garafolo, we just saw the highlights. You watched the game. Your biggest takeaway, we're full of takeaways.
Go on.
My biggest takeaway, God, you guys have been breaking this down for an hour and a half, so I got to hit something that you guys haven't hit. Johnny Hekker!
Hey, baby.
Backing him up
68 yards.
The punter comes in, he's the closer, and he backs Tyreek Hill up, and bam! Hill's getting criticized for trying to return this punt. Why not? Everything else that's going on in this game,
punt.
Try to make a play. Are you kidding me? I have no problem with that. Johnny Hekker, though, you just can't contain him, or you can't stop him. You try and hope to contain him, right?
Craig Kilborn, who?
Well, listen, you're the closer in a baseball game. Sometimes you got to come in and you just got to get one strikeout. That's all you need from Johnny Hekker there, and he did it.
Incredible.
I like that take, Mike G.
Our colleague at NFL.com, Dan Hanzus, tweeted out. He says, "I'll always remember this as the Johnny Hekker game." He and I are sharing a brain.
In all seriousness,
yes.
You see this game. You've been studying the league. You've been following the league for more than a decade. Does it feel like the tide is changing, that the defense wins championships mantra is a thing of old?
I believe this, and I was texting with some defensive guys last night. It's sometimes not about how much you can limit as a defense. Can you make a play? And these guys made plays last night, whether it was up front, forcing the forced fumbles, or guys in the secondary making a play. I mean, look, the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year. How many yards did they wind up giving up to the Patriots? I mean, that was the most yards in Super Bowl history by far. But it came down to a strip sack at the end, and just make a play when you have to make a play. I have for long subscribed to the bend but don't break defense mentality, and now it's becoming a little bit more than that. It's a let them get on the board, but set up our offense with a play, or score the points yourself as a defense. And that's what you saw from this team. So I do think if you see these teams again in the Super Bowl, I don't think you're going to see this kind of game, because I've seen this before where there's a track meet and then teams meet again, and all of a sudden the defenses can figure out some kind of ways to slow some guys down. I don't look at this as a tipping point where, the NFL is now going to be 40 or 50 points every single game.
Are you sure?
I am not positive.
You see the Saints?
I do, but I do believe that right now you've got some really good offensive minds that have figured some things out ahead of the defensive minds. There are good defensive minds in this game that will figure some things out eventually. But for this season, I think you're going to see a lot of this.
Okay, now speaking of that, the offensive mind, there's so much to unpack. There's so many layers to this game. But you can't help but to look on the sideline, right? Okay, Sean McVay, he could be one of the next young, great head coaches, and there could be an umbrella of coaches that falls underneath them, and they go get head jobs, and they have some success. But when it comes to Andy Reid, we just saw Big Red. And Big Red has been a big dog in this league for quite some time. Eric Bieniemy is still on that sideline with the paper up by his face. And I can't help but to think, with all the gems that he's getting from Big Red and how good this offense is, and as we know, the season turns out crazy at the end of the year, and coaches get fired, jobs open up. Is he next up to be one of the next big paid head coaches?
What you've got is a lot of owners around the league watching this. Jim Irsay was tweeting about this game. Hey, great game last night. They're all watching this game saying, I want me.
They want a piece, right?
Right. So that's how it happens. And the other thing that helps Eric Bieniemy is the fact that people didn't know if Matt Nagy was ready.
Or before.
Didn't know if he was ready, right? So that's what helps these guys, is you don't necessarily anymore need the 5, 6, 7 years as a coordinator, wherever it winds up being, because these guys are paving the way. So I give him a shot. And you're talking about he's not calling the plays. Andy Reid is from 3 feet away. He's facing this way. He's talking to him.
It's like my wife and I
text relays it in. But I believe, listen, those guys do work closely together. They have a scripted game plan, from what I'm talking about, that they go over together. Right. He does have a lot to say, Bieniemy does, in what goes on. He's not calling the plays in the moment, but either leading up to the game or before the drive, he's having his input in there and relaying it. I believe, I have to talk to them about it, as Andy Reid's way of getting him involved and getting I think they're right in there. And I think that they've got guys that can make plays on defense too, like I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And Cam Jordan. That's the
Lattimore.
guy right there. So the important thing for the Saints is to get that game at home if it's the NFC Championship. So home field advantage is going to be extremely important.
Got the tiebreaker from the Rams.
Got the tiebreaker with a huge game.
Could a team like the Bears, who do kind of rely on
Very
defense
different.
That's the one defensive hope that we've got right now. And they play well on all levels of the defense. They play well up front. Their linebackers are playing phenomenal. There are guys up front we haven't talked enough about that I keep saying we haven't talked enough about, and then I don't talk about them. And on the back end, guys are making plays and thinking turnovers and creating turnovers. I love what the Bears are doing right now. But you're not going to be able to keep them to 20 points. You're
Yeah.
going to keep them to 30 and hope that your guys can score.
We're getting powerful intel that's saying Nate was watching the Meg, but people at home are calling for the mic. Is it you guys?
Yeah,
What
that's it.
exactly?
What do we got?
Give the people what they
Mike,
want.
baby.
For goodness sake, come on now. What do you think, baby? It's not bad.
I think I got to figure out what he does for his traps. I think I need a little more trap.
Okay.
You're setting all kinds of traps, my friend, with that internet. We're all falling right into it, baby. Thirst traps?
Love
pretty
it.
good, Mike.
Mike Garafolo. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your
Happy
family and your baby girl, of course. We'll see you on Good Morning Football Weekend.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, 3 games on Thursday. It's just the best week of football ever.
We're going to be breaking down what already happened and looking forward to what's going to happen on